Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Bally Freedom and we're about to finish it up. We did one video where we just kind of looked through it and we figured out that it was a re-import. We did another video where we worked on the playfield. Touched it up, got it all shopped out and looking great. And now we need to do a video where we actually do something mechanical to it. The thing plays, but for instance, it doesn't have any chimes and it's just got some issues. So we're going to work through it, clean everything, service everything, and we might be able to do all of that in this one super video. That's right, super video. All right, so we'll see what we can do. So the very first, so like I said, it already plays. I'm not really going to troubleshoot it right now. I'm going to service it right now. So the very first thing I'm going to do is pull the playfield out so we can start working in the bottom of the game. That's first. Okay, so I got the playfield out of it. Now, one of the problems that the thing has is that the chimes don't work. So, I wanted to go ahead and figure out why the chimes don't work. It's because there are no chimes. So if there's no chimes, they ain't gonna work. So it attaches right over here to the side where those two screws are, and it plugs in right there. But they are not here, and there's no room for them in the back box, so I know they can't be back there. Yeah, so I don't know what happened there. We'll have to get a hold of the customer and see if he wants it like that, or if he realizes it's like that, or if we if he wants us to try to. I think they may sell new chime boxes if I remember correctly. I thought I saw somebody had made an aftermarket chime box. Let me see if I can find that. Alright, so I looked online. I can't find any used chimes, and they do sell new ones, but you can't get them in the United States. You have to import them, and they're like $200 plus whatever the shipping is. So that's a little costly. The good news is, though, they're just plug and play, so we'll probably just fix it and tell the customer he can just plug the things in if he decides to buy those. Or maybe we can find some used ones will pop up on eBay or something. They do make reproduction ones, though. I just can't get them at any of the parts houses that I typically use. I've went through and cleaned the bottom of the cabinet, vacuumed it out, and then I've went through and I've cleaned all of the relays. I didn't find any that were really misadjusted or anything, but I did clean them all too, so that might be good. Now, we've got a couple little things I want to show you. This is the delay relay. So the delay relay is if it's like a tilt. If you I ought to look this up to make sure. I think it's like a tilt. We'll look. But I want to point out this bulb. It has a bulb wired in series with the coil. The reason for that is because that's a special bulb. It's one of the flashers, like from the back, that heats up and then turns on. So basically, if this relay comes on, if that's the correct bulb, a flash bulb, that power will run through it and light the bulb, and then the coil will pull in. And then the bulb, since it's a flash bulb, is designed so that whenever it heats up, the filament will separate. The filament bends inside of it when it gets hot, and it turns the bulb off. Well, when it turns the bulb off, it turns the relay off, which then doesn't get triggered again until whatever triggers it, right? So what a mistake a lot of people do is they take that bulb out and they put a regular bulb in it that's not a flash bulb. So then what happens is if the delay relay comes on, it lights the bulb, power runs through it, and then the bulb stays on, or the bulb burns out because it's got too much voltage running through it. So it won't work right like that. So we've also got a bulb over here on the over-the-top relay. Now, I think we got the same problem here. This thing was probably giving them some issues. Let me see what bulb this is. This is a 44 bulb, which is a standard bulb. The over-the-top relay, what it does is, whenever you get 100,000 points, it can't display that on the score reels. you can only get 99,990 points because the last reel's fake. Nothing scores 1 point. So things score 10 points. So you can get 99,990 points. If you get another 10 points, it rolls over to 100,000, which pulls in the over-the-top relay. That turns on a little light up at the top that says first player over the top or something like that. First player 100,000 points. And it turns on a freaking buzzer. So it makes it go, just so everybody knows that you just rolled the score reels. And I think that that relay turns on that buzzer, but without that flash bulb in there, it's either going to stay on permanently or it's going to come on, stay on for a few seconds and burn up the bulb, and then never work again because the power connects through the bulb. So there's something definitely going on there. Let's look at the schematics to make sure I'm correct about that. Okay, so here's the delay relay, and there's the bulb. And so you can see what happens. If the mounting slam unit, the front door slam switch, mounting slam unit, front door slam switch, or the cabinet slam switch come on, it connects power to that delay relay. The delay coil pulls in and holds itself on through a switch on itself and that bulb. Theoretically, the slam switch opens up, and then it holds itself on through that bulb for a few seconds until the bulb turns itself off, which then kills power to the delay relay. So if that delay relay comes in, it opens this switch, which kills the coin relay, basically all kinds of stuff. The player relay, the credit relay, 10 to 90 play relay, the score motor, the lock relay, the coin lockout. Basically, it's going to kill everything on the game. Right? So that's one of them. Now, the other one, the over-the-top relay. Let's see if we can find it. Where are you, little over-the-top relay? This is quite a long schematic here. Here we go. So the over-the-top relay is turned on by the player switches, the 100,000 relay switch. Okay. There's the 100,000 player relay. So when the 10 to 90,000 score drum scorer unit end of stroke switch closes, and when the drum unit is at the 9th position, so when it rolls over to 100,000 points, it turns on the 100,000 point relay. The 100,000 point relay well, you get the point. It turns on the over-the-top delay relay, which does use a 455 bulb. Where am I seeing this? I'm missing the thing here. Oh yeah, here we go. So when that 100,000 point relay comes on, this switch closes, which turns on 4th P, which turns on 4th P, and turns on the over-the-top delay relay. It holds itself on with a switch on itself until the bulb turns it off. So what does the over-the-top delay relay do? Well, it turns on that buzzer. Let's see if we can find that in here. Bzzz. Bzzz. There's just so much stuff in here. It's very complex. There is a buzzer here somewhere. There's a knocker, chime coil, chime coil, chime coil. It's down here on the lamps because it runs on less voltage. So this buzzer is turned on by the over-the-top delay relay. Okay, yeah, so it needs another bulb. They've got the wrong bulb in there. Alright, new bulb installed. That'll do it. That's one of the coolest features of the game. You got to get that working. Okay, so this is the coin unit here, and it's having a little issue. Basically, when you put a quarter in, it says there's 1 quarter, and then you put a second one in. This moves up. Third one, this moves up. Fourth one, this moves up. You need that so that it can play a more than one player game. And then this other coil resets it. But as you can see, it's very sluggish. Let me show you something else too. On the back of it, there is a switch. I've showed this a million times. That switch right there. I just fixed that. It was on the other side of that little pin there. So basically that would make it where it just wouldn't work right. So you see it's closed right now. When it steps up, that's position 1, steps up, that's position 2, so that's 2 player. Steps up again, that's position 3. Now look, it's going to move it, but it hasn't opened it. And then when it steps up to position 4, now it's open. And I may need to adjust that a little bit just to make sure, but basically that switch is supposed to open at the 4th position. And you could tell that it was wrong because when they had it on the other side of the blade, the switch never opened. It just, you know, that's not, there would be nothing holding it open if that was on the other side of the blade. When it went to the 1st position, 2nd position, 3rd position, 4th position, the switch would just stay closed the whole time. So you know that can't be right. But that's really common on these. It gets on the wrong side. The purpose of that switch is it opens at the 4th position so that when you hit start the 5th time, it doesn't take a credit because that switch is open. So because it has opened, you won't lose a quarter. It's very nice of Bally to do that for us. So it's sluggish, so it's not moving right. So I'm going to take the spider off that side. I'm going to clean the contacts on that. And then we're going to put it back together, clean everything up, and get it to where it moves smoothly. Okay, so I've taken the screw off the front of it and remove the spider. Now all of this looks pretty clean, but if you look at it, it's sticky because it's got like a grease on it. They sprayed something on it. You can actually see it on the nylon. This is made of nylon. You can see the shininess of it. It's got some kind of sticky residue on it. I don't want to name names, but it's probably WD-40. Now this, see the reflection in it there? This isn't normally shiny. That's the coating. That's what they've got on it. Which we're going to put a coating on it too, but we're not going to put something sticky on it. Okay, now the way you can tell if the problem is the spider or if it's something in here is you can just test it without the spider on it. So we've taken it off, and if I take this and spin it a little bit now with my hand, you see the big coiled up spring there. And you can see this thing is actually moving just fine and resetting just fine if I do it by hand without the spider on there. Everything's cool. You can take that out and clean it. It's just nylon and it's in a metal sleeve here. When there's nylon involved, usually you don't have to put any kind of lubricant. And they haven't sprayed anything that's got down in there, so it's completely fine right now. With that said, here's the spider, and it's all kind of greasy and oily, so I'm going to clean it up, and we're going to put some super lube on the disc there, and that should get it where it's spinning freely. I'm going to clean those contacts on the discs too, just so that it makes everything makes good contact, and we know that it does. All right, I cleaned it and put the super lube on it. We use this synthetic grease. They originally came with something like this on them, and over the years it gets sticky or it's got dirt impaled in it. But this stuff works great. But you got to get dielectric, which is kind of strange because it doesn't conduct electricity. And you need it to conduct electricity. But basically, it does conduct electricity whenever there's a very small gap between the contact and the metal plate. So it works fine. But the reason it needs to be dielectric is because if it was conductive, whenever you put it on the board there, it would short all of the traces together and start a fire. Okay, so it has to be dielectric. So I went ahead and put some on there, cleaned it all up. I did take the nylon cog out and cleaned it because it just didn't look quite right, and it was a little dirty. So I took it all apart and cleaned it, put it all back together. So let's try it now. Position 2, position 3, position 4. Bam! Back to position 1. And the switch. I adjusted slightly. So we'll do it from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's closed. I was holding the thing. It's my hand was hitting here. Let me do it again so you don't think that it's sticking. So that's working. So then I moved over here to this one. This one is the ball count unit. Operates very similarly. This one has a couple switches, but these close whenever it resets. I mean, these open whenever it resets. It just works backwards. But same thing. Cleaned it up. Put the super lube on it. And it's used to, it's the ball count unit. You know what it does. Come on, people. You know exactly what the freaking ball count unit does. Come on now. Position 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 7 positions. And then you go back the other way. Bam. Now, why does it have 7 positions, I wonder? I wonder if this sucker has the 7 ball setup that we saw on some of the Ted Zell Bally games. Interesting. Let's see if we can figure out why the ball count unit has 7 positions. Oh, and by the way, if you want to get this, if you just want to order some for your machine, I use it on all the stepper units. You can get this on our website. Go to lionsarcade.com. We have a parts page at the top that has a bunch of links to Amazon of like all of the stuff we use in our machine. So that and the clear coat spray paint that we use and stuff like that, and the triple thick spray paint that we use for the back of the back glass. And go check it out. But let's look at the schematics and see why there are 7 positions on the ball count unit. Okay, so you can only select 3 or 5, and it just has to do with the way that the end of ball works. So basically, you're on position 1, 2, 3. Whenever you've got it set on 3 balls per game, whenever the ball count unit gets up to ball 4, you don't get a ball 4, and it ends the game. Turns on the game over relay. Now, why do they have it also connected to ball 5? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know why it would count up 2 at the end of a game. It may just be that they're doing that as a safety thing just in case or something. I don't know. And whenever it's set on 5 balls per game, basically the adjustment doesn't actually connect to anything. There's no wire connected to that. But there is a wire connected to ball 6 that trips the game over relay. So as soon as you get to ball 6, the game's over. But it's also connected to ball 7, so just a fail-safe, I guess. There must be some situation where it can actually step up twice. I don't know how. I'll have to look into all that. If I think of it, I'll let you know. But basically, there were games that were 7-ball games. We did a video on one a while back called Safari. Bally Safari is from the late 60s. And you could play 7 balls on, you could set it to play 7 balls. Pretty cool. All right, so that's that. So we're kind of done in the bottom of the cabinet. I need to clean the Jones plugs and get them all correct. And we got stuff on the bottom of the playfield, but I think I'm going to jump into the back box and start working through all that. All right, folks, we are in the back box now. So the first thing I have done is I started cleaning the Jones plugs. I just scuff them up a bit, get them where they're making good contact. Usually they're pretty good, but if you've got any major issues, corrosion, if you take those off and they're black, where they're all oxidized, they need to be cleaned. Because you have to get a good, signal through here into the socket. I think first thing I'm going to do is clean these relays. It's all the points relays and the 2 reset relays. And then these are the 100,000 point over the top relays. So whenever these they roll up to 99,990. This is a 0 because it's a fake reel. 99,990. The next time you get 10 points, this one rolls this one, and this one rolls this one, and this one rolls this one, and this one turns on the 100,000 point relay. So what that does is it lights a little light on the front, I think they're up here actually, that says first player 100,000 points, because this is going to roll to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's going to look like you have 0 points, but with the light on you have 100,000 points. And it sounds a buzzer. We looked at that in the previous video. 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. We also have the player up unit, just a stepper that needs cleaned like the ones we just did in the bottom. And we have the replay unit here, or they call it the credit unit on the Bally's. Looks like they might have something tied on it here. What is this? What have they done to it? They have this around the wheel so that when this one pulls in, so that one gives you an extra credit, but it can't because of this. And then when this takes the credit off, I guess it can't move. Right? I always love seeing how they've done the free play. So they basically have moved this thing around so that these can never open. These 2 switches here are what it checks, basically. These are in the line of the start button. One of them is, the other one's just a light bulb. But if these are closed, you never run out of credits. Well, if this wheel can't go back to wherever it goes, or this one, or whatever, it can never open that, so you'll never have 0 credits. They have got it, looks like all the way up. See, here's 0. They've got it all the way up to 35 credits or whatever it displays. And they've got it wired so that even if it tries to subtract a credit, it can't. That's just how they've put it on free play. Everybody has a different way. Another way you can do it is to put a jumper on the wires, so even if the switch opens, the wires are still connected, as if the switch is closed. Another way you can do it is bend the switch out of the way so that this little bar here, when you get back to 0 credits, can't open the switch. So there's just different ways. They've went the very physical way. They've handcuffed it. Okay, so I'm going to clean through these. I already did the Jones plugs. I'm going to clean through these, and I'm going to clean through these. I have a little flat file I use just to clean up the contacts, and I like looking to make sure everything seems like it's making good contact and that it's pushing the switches closed and they open well whenever they go the other way. Just to make sure all of that's working properly. And we'll move on from there. Oh, we also have one of the little match units. So this Bally is calling the 0 to 90 unit. This is usually used for the match. And interestingly enough, on the Bally's, on some of these, you can't remove it. So it's wired into the harness with no Jones plug. So we'll have to be careful when we clean that. Yeah, and this is the one too where the the little thing is on the inside. So we're going to have to completely disassemble it to clean it. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Let me clean these up and the stepper units like we did in the bottom, and we'll go from there. All right, so I cleaned all those. There was nothing particularly important about any of them. Nothing was really out of adjustment. Everything seemed fine. I took apart and cleaned this player up unit. It's very similar to the steppers in the bottom. Nothing remarkable about that either, really. Now we're up to the 0 to 90 unit. Like I said, it's a little different. So I'm going to show you it as I take it apart. It has the board on the inside. Now I think this one is probably just a straight up match unit. Maybe we'll look on the schematics to tell for sure. But so if this isn't working right, it's probably just going to mess up the match. It probably doesn't have anything to do with the gameplay. Sometimes on these, they will have something that makes lights move on the board to make the score different, or it's used to randomize some number that's needed for some kind of bonus or something. But this one I think is just a straight up match unit. So the first thing we're going to do is take this little clip off the edge, and we're going to take that little screw loose. So the screw is long, it goes all the way through. Whoop. Never mind the parts that fall out and fall to the floor. So what that was a spacer that goes between here and here. This side of the board mounts around that post. You can take it off. So we're just going to move this back and pop this off. We're going to move this back too. Once you take this apart, you'll notice that it's basically a score reel. It's the same setup. You can see that. So it's a score reel with an extra board on it, and instead of showing you a score, it's got a wiper on it that is connecting traces over here to make a light up and to make the match circuit work. So we got to get that off next. So you can see this, just how simple it is, and it doesn't matter how you put it back on because since they're attached to the one piece, no matter where you put it, it's just going to move around to the correct place after you're done. So if you put it like this, it's fine. If you put it like this, it's fine. It'll find its own spot. Basically, each position that it's in, it just has another number lit on the back box at the end of the game. So we're going to clean up those traces, clean up those traces, and put it all back together. Okay, so easy peasy. I put it back together, but I haven't put this in yet. But this is what the little spacer looks like. And you just put it under this bottom hole, run the screw through it, and then the screw is actually threaded on the other side of the plate. There's no nut or anything, it's threaded. And the other side is held up by that post that isn't actually attached to anything. So easy peasy. Let's look at the schematics and see what that thing does. Okay, so this is one of the little boards, the 0 to 90 unit disc. And you can see that each wire just goes to a different light bulb. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I went backwards. 0, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Okay. And it can be turned on and off depending on if you have the number match adjustment on. Let me make sure they're in the correct order. They're drawn as if they are in basically reverse order, or maybe that's forward order, whatever. But you see the point, okay? So if the number match is on, when the game over relay trips, because the game is over, it will send power over to here, which will light up those lights, whichever light it's on, okay? Now the other place that it's used, the other board, is right here, and it's connected to all of the score reels, the 10 unit on the score reels. So let's say that your match number is 30, right? So you're on 30, you're on 3, position 3. Well, at the end of the game, light 30 will come on. Okay, and let's say that it is only a one-player game. and this score reel is on 30. Right? Let's see. As the score motor is turning, and this will happen at the end of the game, as this is turning, that switch is going to close. And if you are on 30 and the reel is on 30, the match reel that we were just messing with, then this line will be connected to that switch on the score motor. If the match is turned on, I wish, look at this. Look at this. It's right where I need it to be. I think this is saying that as the player reset relay closes, that has to be closed. So the reason that this is on there is so that as the reset relay is pulling in, this looks screwed up to me. I don't know. That's something. This is here so that as you're resetting, the resets at the relays at the beginning of the game, the position of the game over relay won't be important. But this is going to switch over to here, and depending on if you get a credit or an extra ball, you are either going to, this will connect over to give you an extra ball, or this will connect over to give you an extra credit. Right? And there is one for each player, but it depends on if the coin unit is turned on. So like if it's a 4-player game, then the coin unit will be up to position 4. So 2, 3, and 4 will also be connected, and the score motor, as it turns, will check each of them. So when it turns to 4A, bam, it'll give you 1 if you match on player 1. When it turns to 5D, bam, it'll give you 1 if you match on player 2. When it turns to 6A, bam, it's going to give you 1 if you match on player 3. And finally, when you get to position, when the cam 7 at 7A connects, bam, you're going to get 1 for player 4, if all of them were matched, theoretically, right? So that's kind of how it works. Hope it makes sense to you. It just checks it right at the end of the game. So that's the whole purpose of that thing, and that's all this one does. It's just used for the match at the end of the game. Theoretically, you could disconnect it as long as you didn't. If you had the match turned off, that unit is useless. Doesn't do anything. Okay, so like I said, it's just like a score reel. So I went through and I cleaned all the score reels. That takes forever. If you just do a quick clean of them, it takes about 5 minutes each if you are blazing fast. And there's 16 of them. So I guess that's not too bad. That would be an hour and a half. Is that right? 80 minutes, not quite an hour and a half. So I went through and cleaned them all. There was this one, and when I say clean, I mean the switches and the reels themselves. You have to disassemble it. I've done tons of videos showing that. I just didn't feel like filming it again. This one here has this stain on it where it looks like something dripped on it at some point. Maybe it was displaying number 7, and it may have been when they dripped the Coke on it, because if you look next to it on the back glass there, we did the back glass on the previous video. See that stain on the back glass there? And then that stain is right there. So maybe this was displaying number 7, and then whatever dripped there also landed there when it was in storage. We talked with the owner, and he said that this machine was in a basement for 25 years. And that the person that they got it from had brought it back from Germany at some point. We talked in the previous videos about how it spent some time in the Netherlands too. So, yeah, got that. Cleaned the Jones plugs. Got the match. Cleaned all the score reels. More Jones plugs. Cleaned those. So I've cleaned everything in this back box. There's nothing else to do except test it. But before we test it, we're going to work on the bottom of the playfield a little bit. Now, I have all of these set to number, where from the back you can see number 7. That's going to display a 1 on the front. And the reason I do that is because I like whenever you first test the next game you press start, that it's going to have to reset every one of those reels back to 0. So you get a good look at whether or not it's capable of doing that. Can it get all of those back to 0? So I leave them off 0. You can put them on any number you want, but if you put them on 1, it actually has to go all the way around. So they're all on 1 with the exception of the last digit, which is a fake reel. Okay, so moving on to the bottom of the playfield. We don't have a ton of work to do here. I'm going to go through and replace all the light bulbs like I always do. And we're going to, we've got a wheel unit there and a bonus unit here that we need to clean, just, the same old thing, steppers. And then we've got a bunch of switches that we have to make sure are properly gapped and clean. And then we need to look at the flippers a little bit. So it's just, it's more and more of the same. We'll also check and see if these drop targets are drop targeting properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and replace all of the light bulbs on the bottom of the playfield. So that's next. Okay, so I got them all replaced. I haven't been able to test most of them, though, because none of them are on right now. We're going to have to play it a little bit. But one thing I wanted to look at, I had forgotten about, was the pop bumpers. So there are 3 diodes on the pop bumpers that someone has cut loose. I don't know why, because they're supposed to be there. So on this game, Freedom, they, from the factory, had a bridge rectifier. I don't know why they would take those off. Maybe one of them shorted or something, I don't know. But so I'm looking at how this thing is wired, and that is the only way that those things are getting power, and they're pretty snappy at the moment. I played them on an earlier video, I believe, didn't I? But there is a fuse off of the positive voltage coming out of the bridge rectifier. And then there is a cap connecting that to the wire coming out of the negative voltage of the bridge rectifier. So it's basically across the positive and the negative. Right? And then on the negative side there are 3 switches for the top thumper bumpers. And there are 2 switches for the left and right slingshots. The left and right slingshots, the other end of them is connected to the fuse. And the top thumper bumpers, they're connected to the fuse. But across the coil, there are 1N 4004 diodes on the 3 thumper bumper coils. And the line, I can't remember, that's the cathode, I believe. No, I think it's the anode. The anode is to the fuse. So it's on the side that gets the fused line. So this is just a big mess. Oh, let me show you this too. So the fused line is labeled as 70, which is orange. And then the other side of the thumper bumper is labeled as J for jumper, and it's connected to the thumper bumper switches. So the side that doesn't have the line gets the jumper. Technically, well, no, let me not say that. It should be like that. So the side that doesn't have the line should be the jumper side. So the jumper's here. There is the diode. Please don't shock me, Mr. Diode. And what's probably going on is that is the original diode. And whoever was messing with it couldn't tell where the line was. It looks to me like it's here, right? So the line should be towards the jumper. No, towards the orange wire. And so this one is correct. And then here, the line should be toward the orange wire, and that one's correct. And then here, I think the wires have been swapped or something. See how there's fresh solder, or fresher looking solder on those 2 lugs? So this is on backwards. So it could just be they figured out that one was backwards, so they disconnected the 3 of them because they couldn't tell what in the world was going on. But I'll tell you what's going to go on. We're going to put 3 brand new 1N4004 diodes on it because that's what it was supposed to have from the factory. Now up here, the slingshots don't have those, but they are also running on DC voltage. So there you go. Okay, so we're up to the bonus unit. It's the same. You know, these are all the same. Once you work on them a little bit, you start noticing, hey, wait a minute, they're using the exact same parts. Because it is. It's just a stepper unit. The little boards look a little different, depending on how many wires they need to attach to it for whatever they're trying to do, but it's all the same. So the same thing, I cleaned it up, put a little bit of the super lube on it, made sure these switches are right. It moves really good each way. Moving right along. So now we're down to this wheel unit. This one is basically the same, but slightly different. So where it's different is it only moves in one direction. So there's nothing to reset. It just keeps moving and moving and moving. And the reason for that is it's kind of like the match unit in that. You know, the match unit only moves in one direction. But the basically what it's doing is just connecting different lights and different scoring and different lights and different scoring. So it uses this spider, which is interesting. So you see all of the contacts are actually in good shape. But if you look on the back, I guess they originally looked like that. Well, I've seen that before, and what happens is they get loose or they don't make good contact. So somebody has went and soldered a bunch of them in place. So that's kind of cool. So nothing's broke. They were just putting solder on that so that the contact, which is basically a rivet, can't spin around. So it's a really good way of doing it. So now it's perfectly electrically connected to this blade. So someone has worked on this before. And it's old enough that you would expect that, you know. Alright, so because this just turns around over and over and there's no switch on it, it doesn't matter where you put the spider back on. You don't have to mark it. There's no reset position. It'll only go 2 ways, though, because of the shape of that shaft. It'll go that way or that way. So I'm going to put it back, and we're on to the drop targets. I've cleaned all the switches, too, while I was at it. Next up is the drop targets. We need to see if they will drop. Okay, so drop target time. So there are 5 drop targets, right? And they are reset by this coil. So when it pulls in, it pulls this bar that resets 5 little levers in there and pushes them up, which pushes up the drop targets. So the drop targets have a little lip on them that makes them sit on the edge of the playfield. Now, this will be down, so gravity will make this fall back. The reason for that is so that the levers can fall. They won't hit it, right? So when one of the drop targets drops, it'll hit this switch as it drops. See it hit it real quick? And then it lands at the bottom, and it lands on this switch. So they're using that for a couple different purposes. One, to score. This one scores. You can't have this one scoring because then it would lock on the score relay, right? So the one that it just hits for a second is the one that scores. Now, this one was sticking a little bit, and the reason it was sticking is, see all of this nonsense on the plate there? That was like grease. So there was grease all over the little levers that fall down and hit that switch. So you see the one right there. And when I hit that, so I'm going to push the drop target off the edge of the playfield. Okay, and see how that fell that way. Well, when the playfield's down, that's gravity helping with that. But the reason that it does that is because it has a spring on each one of the drop targets that's attached to this little plate here in the middle, this little bar in the middle, right? And you see that the drop targets are kind of dirty under the playfield, but on the top of the playfield they're nice and clean. So that grease that was on there, they were trying to grease that little lever as it hits this little switch, because there's some friction there. So they put grease on it. But the problem is, after a while, that all dries up. So what I have done is I've cleaned it up. So they all drop very well now. Now, the reason, the best thing to clean something like that with is oil, actually. Oil is a cleaner. If you look, it actually tells you that it cleans. It's great for cleaning. WD-40 is horrible for cleaning if you leave it on there. It's pretty good if you put it on and then take it back off. But WD-40 is like horrible as a lubricant. But so what I did was I took oil, put it on a rag, and then I cleaned all of that. Cleaned all the grease off of the little levers, which is going to leave a little film of oil on the levers. And you just saw they work great like that. So if you have something sticking, clean it with a little bit of oil, especially, but only if it's metal on metal. If it's nylon on metal, you just clean it. It doesn't need any kind of lubricant. So for instance, this wheel unit that we did down here, that whole piece is nylon that goes through there, and it goes through a metal bushing. Well, you don't have to lubricate that because the nylon, you see how shiny it is? It just needs to be clean. So once I cleaned it and cleaned the metal bushing, it works fine. So you can use lubricants on these, but don't put grease and crap all over the back of the drop target base. I know nobody watching this would do that, but whoever did that overseas, I'm just going to blame it on the Netherlands. Must have been somebody in the Netherlands. But he probably couldn't get the right parts or something, so he had to. So I'm going to give him a pass this time. And it was easily fixed, so no big deal. All right, so the last thing that we have to mess with are the flippers. Now, people are crazy about flippers. They see something like this and they go, oh God, it needs a new flipper. No, it doesn't. It doesn't need a new flipper. Something has happened here at some point where something caught on fire, obviously. That's what all that charring is. But it wasn't this one, because if it would have caught on fire, that label would have burnt off. Now, if you look at that label, it looks kind of weird. See how it says Bally and AF25, 28. Well, it's different than, like, say, these ones. So I think it's probably been replaced at some point by somebody. And again, it looks like the thing, caught on fire or something. So at one point that's been swapped out. So there's nothing wrong with that coil. Coils usually don't need replaced unless they've been overheated, right? A coil either works or it doesn't, usually. Now one thing that we are going to do, I played it already and the flippers are strong as hell. One thing we are going to do though is, if you look at this one, look at the sleeve in the coil. See that little ring of brass? So that's one of the old school brass coil sleeves. That's not a great idea. They just don't work as good as the nylon coil sleeves. For one reason is because of what we were just talking about. You don't need to lubricate it. So, and by the way, don't ever lubricate a coil. Not good. You'll have things happen like it catch on fire, like this one might have. You can see where it even burned the board a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that coil, and we're going to take the metal sleeve out of it, the brass sleeve out of it, and we're going to put a nylon sleeve in it, which will make that nice and smooth. The other thing you want to check is if there is a ton of play right here. I don't even know if I can do it with because of that spring in there. See how there's a little bit of play? See how that's moving compared to this just a little bit? And I'm talking up and down. See that little bit of play? That's fine. They come like that. When you get a new one, it'll have that much play in it. But if you see it and it's all worn out where it's moving a bunch, that's a problem. You need a new one. If it buzzes a lot and it just bugs the hell out of you, if you put a new plunger and a new coil stop on it, it won't buzz. Typically, though, that doesn't make them any stronger. If the end of stroke switch is pitted and dirty, that will cause problems too. So when this pulls in, it should open that end of stroke switch kind of at the end like that. That might even be opening a little bit too much, but it's pretty close. But you want it to, is that paper? Yeah, that's paper. Okay. You want it to open well and close well, right? So, like I said, I already played it, and the flippers are nice and strong. You also want to clean that, though. And you want to clean the flipper buttons, the switch on the cabinet. If that arcs and arcs and arcs, eventually it will end up all pitted and screwed up and stuff. And so whenever you press the flipper button, instead of getting your 25 volts through or whatever these run on, you get maybe 15 volts through. Makes the flippers weaker. So this one, someone has already worked on a little bit, put a new coil sleeve, a new coil on it. I'll check that switch to make sure it's right, and then we'll play the crap out of it. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and take apart and pull out that brass sleeve. So there's the little brass sleeve. I put a nylon one in. Hopefully they work well. We will try it. But this is my favorite part, folks. Oh, look, the match light is on 20. This is my favorite part. We're going to see if they all reset to 0 or if I have to refilm. I'm just kidding. I would never redo it. All right, let's see. Nothing. No credits. How do we have no credits? Maybe the coin door is unplugged or something? What's going on here? All right, let's try it again. Nothing. Man, that is crazy. Okay, so we got to look at the schematics. So looking at the schematics, we have the credit button here, and for it to work, the score motor has to be at a certain place. Switch on the score motor. The reset relay has to not be turned on. The credit unit has to not be at 0. The switch has to not be open at 0, and ours isn't. It's closed. And then one of these 4 switches has to be closed. Either the game over relay has to be on, and ours is. The ball count unit has to be at something other than 0. The player up unit has to be at something other than 0. And the coin unit limit switch, yeah, so that's the one that opens at the 4th position or whatever. So it could be that switch needs to be closed. I'm going to guess that's it, because that one, you know, was a little weird. But the game over relay should be closed as well. So the reason they do it like this is because when the game starts, if the game over relay is closed, well, this connects through and turns on the credit relay, which starts everything up, right? Ours isn't doing anything, so this first relay is not even coming on. But then once you start the game and it kicks the ball out, the ball count unit is still at the 0 position switch. It hasn't moved up. So it says ball count unit 0. It's really like the 1st position, right? And the player up unit has not moved up. You're still at ball 1, player 1. And so they do that so that you can start a multiplayer game. And you can do that until this switch opens, and then when you hit it, nothing works. So I've probably got a problem with this switch on the game over relay. I've looked at the credit unit, it looks fine. We could have a problem with the credit button where it connects inside, but I don't think so. Or we could have a screwed up something on the reset relay. So I'm going to look at these switches in particular and see if I can figure out which one is not right. So this is the one for the credit unit, and if you look, they are how they should be. See how the small blade is moving? That's because it's well touching the bigger blade. Okay, so I don't think it's that one. Okay, so looking at them, this one looks pretty good. I just showed you that one. This reset relay also looks good. The coin unit limit switch looks good, so it should be working. But since I should have 2 things making it work up here, the game over relay should be closed and the coin unit limit should be closed. All of this should be fine, one way or the other, right? And this is fine. You just saw it. And I've inspected this and it's fine. So now we're down to this, switch 1F on the score reel. And this switch, this wire down here that goes to it is a white wire, and it's a make or break switch. So this is kind of common, actually. So this is 1. And if you look at the bottom, your first set of switches is A, B, C, D, E, F. So F is this top one, and it's a make or break switch. And there's the white wire. So that's the 1. So if that one is not making great contact in its position right now, that would be the whole problem. So let's inspectolate, shall we? It looks like it's touching to me, but it's close. So I'll bet that's the problem. Ooh! It tried to move just barely. Alright, so I'm going to turn the game off and I'm going to clean and adjust that switch just to make sure it's closed well until it lifts up off of that. And then we'll try it again. I see what it is. So they have this weird little setup where all of that, this line on the bottom, doesn't go actually to the common. It goes through one of the coin switches. 2 of the coin switches. So the third coin chute and the second coin chute have to be closed or the start button will never work. And there's something weird going on the coin door because it's an import, re-import. So I believe this is first, that's second, that's third. And basically this switch, you hear it click? So that is 2 contacts are connected. And that is the common and the other contact are connected. So when that's up, 2 of these have to be connected. And the same here, but they've swapped this at some point with a different one. Yeah, so we've got, yeah. That makes sense because this is the only thing I haven't messed with yet. And then this appears to have something broke too. Yeah, that's the wire that goes on the middle. So it kind of looks like maybe the red wire goes up there and then jumpers over to here. Well, nope, those are red and white. Maybe that's red and white. Yep, that's red and white as well. And then this is red and white. So let's look at the schematics again and see if we can figure it out. Okay, so the first chute is yellow, and that is white and blue. So yellow and white and blue, and then that's all that's on there. The yellow also runs over to the second coin chute, and those are the only 2 that get yellow. So the first and the second get yellow. And the one that's got white and blue is the first coin chute, and the third switch, the third thing on the first coin chute is not hooked up. So white and blue and yellow, the other one's not hooked up. Maybe they had the wire, you know, because like there's a yellow and black wire here too. Maybe there's some extra wires here, and just for ease of rewiring, and whenever they swapped this switch, they accidentally put the red one on there and then figured it out and took it back off. We know the thing worked because it was working before. So it looks like this is switch 1, and it's fine. And then the yellow wire only runs to switch 2. So that's this one. So our power to make all this work is coming in through here. So it's got to go from here, and we have a white and red wire and a red and white wire. So it has to be normally connected from yellow to red and white, and then red and white has to run over to here and be normally connected to white, and then white has to run out to the 1-7 switch. Okay, so I traced it down. The actual yellow common wire. Had a lot of resistance going through the coin door Jones plug. Cleaned it, replaced all of that back in. I think we're going to be good now. But let's see. Whew! How sweet it is! And it kicked the ball out. Okay, so I'm going to mess with the scoring a little bit, make sure everything's scoring right, and then we'll play it for a second. On video, I mean, we extensively test them, but we don't film all of the testing because it's less opportunity for everybody to go,
oh, that bulb's not quite as bright. Oh, my butt hurt. Oh, use LEDs. Please use LEDs.
all right, let's play a game. Everything reset just fine. Went back to 1 player. We had it on 4 player. And it's on ball and play number 1. Now, I played all 4 players, and everything is scoring really nice. Nice and sharp, probably because the motor is spinning too fast. If you didn't see the earlier videos, I don't know if I mentioned it in this one, but this is a re-import, and the 50 hertz, overseas they use 50 hertz, over here they use 60 hertz. So this is a 50 hertz motor that is running on 60 hertz. Ooh, cool. I was waiting on this. See how the left flipper is dead? We actually want that. That's good. Okay, so when I played it before, both the flippers worked great. And the customer was saying that the left flipper kept screwing up, but I hadn't seen it do it. But now it's completely dead. It's not doing nothing. So we've got to troubleshoot that. This is going to be the longest video ever. Yeah, so I hate when there's an issue that the customer mentions and then I can't find it, you know, because then you don't know if it's fixed or not. But since it's doing it now, we know what the issue is and now we can fix it. So the power's still on. So it works fine if I hit it with that. So now it's working fine. That's interesting. Works in the air, doesn't work on laid down. Well, that's great. What in the world? I could feel that it was hitting, you know. Now the sparks, it's just, that's common. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, let me keep looking. It's a bad connection on that Jones plug. If I wiggle those wires while I do it, it stops working. So it's this, probably this orange and black wire as it runs through this Jones plug. This Jones plug is damaged. That's why this wire has tape on it. It's been soldered and taped because they burnt up the plug on it just from so much heat running through it. So let me address that, clean it up a little better, and hopefully that'll fix the left flipper not working. Okay, one more time with feeling. Look at this. Can you believe it? Look what it's doing. Can you believe it? Okay, so I'm gonna try to open the coin door, wiggle the connector, and see if that fixes it. What do you think? I cleaned it all up. See, that's the issue. I cleaned it up before, so I figured that was it, but guess what? Let's try them one at a time. That's the yellow one. And I'm playing with electricity with the lights off. Well, damn. Now when I mess with them, it never works. Interesting. So I guess that was just a coincidence. I don't see anything blocking it. Okay, let's mess with the coil. Okay, let's mess with this coil. There we go. All right, I see the problem now. Bad solder on the right coil. So the right flipper coil is the one that was replaced, and one of the wires jumps over to the other one to give it power, and the solder looks kind of crappy. So I'm going to lift her back up, resolder that. Hopefully, that'll get us nice and solid. All right. Let's try it one more time. Now, I know what you're thinking. Boy, this one's giving them all kinds of trouble. No, it's not. They're all like this. This is just typical of what we do. And I don't mind. Like I said, the customer said that something was wrong with the left flipper. Well, I kept playing it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And Joey said, hey, what was wrong with the flipper? And I said, nothing. I ain't seen anything wrong with the flipper. But then we finally saw something wrong with the flipper. It's much better to have an obvious problem than to have one that's hiding from you. So I don't mind finding things wrong, especially if they're obviously wrong, because then it's, you know, it's just as simple as, well, now you know what the problem is. You just have to fix it. So I've resoldered it. Hopefully that will fix that. So our start is working great. Right flipper's still working because I just had to resolder that wire. And now the left flipper's working. So hopefully they'll stay working. I believe they will, because I found the obvious problem. Whew! This one's got a little flash dance. Nice spinner. Let's see if I can get a real good zinger on one of them. Ball 2, player 1. Yeah, the spinner's nice. Both of them. Missed that one. It's a really cool design of a game because it's, you've got that wheel in the center. So you advance the wheel. I don't like the bump there. That could be adjusted a little bit. I think the right one's doing it too. Basically, when the ball rolls down the in lane, you don't want it to bump. You want it to roll right onto the flipper. It's because that bar there is too high. So I noticed that whenever I was messing with it. Dave screwed around with that. There's actually a little glue on this one. That thing is too high in the air. If it's a little lower, you got to think about the circumference of the ball, how it's rounded. If that ball guide is up high, what happens is the ball actually curves under it. So as it's traveling down, part of the ball is under the rail because the rail is up on the top half of the ball. And so the ball, when it gets to the flipper, it has to roll up and over that end bar because it's straight. So if part of the ball is down here, it's rolling down, everything's fine until it gets to the end, and then it has to move up to get around the end of the bar. So that it's important that that bar be halfway down the ball or lower. So hit it with a hammer or something. That one does it a little bit too. I don't think it's as high as the other one. Watch this, watch. See it bounce? But this is a really cool design because they have the wheel in the middle and it's pointing at a different thing. And you advance that with 100, whatever you score that's 100, it will move that around. So one of them's 5,000, one of them's a double bonus. One of them's advance the bonus and get 500. One of them's 3 bonus advance. One of them's light the spinners. So, very cool. Ball 4. And when you land in the holes, you score whatever the wheel is pointing at the second. And the outlane score. All right, ball 5. Should be end of game. Yeah, it's counting the bonus properly, even though it goes so fast. Everything's cool. Let me see if I can push that down a little bit with a hammer, and then see if the ball doesn't bump anymore. Okay, adjusted both of them down. Those do not need to be high because they don't catch anything. All they do is guide the ball to the flipper. So the ball can't really even be going fast there. Much better. Much better. So that's how you want it. It'll just play a lot better like that. And see, there's no reason for it to be higher. Like, it doesn't help it to be up higher. It's not... All it's doing is keeping the ball in line. So as long as it's able to do that, you're high enough. Very cool. Yeah, so that's much better. I think that helps it a lot. We gotta figure out what's up with the light bulbs on the pop bumpers. Are they just loose? I think they're just loose. Yeah, look, see how we got lights? We got all the lights blinking a little bit. I hate making these videos anymore. I don't enjoy it at all because of not the customers. The customers are great because of the viewer comments. You get people going, the lights are blinking, and then they ignore the part where you fixed it, or they ignore anything decent you did in the video, or anything that's fun about it, or anything. So that they'll watch the whole video, and their whole comment is, I won't play a game if it doesn't have chimes. Completely ignorant and ignoring that we've talked about that, Or, the light over on the left was out. I mean, I don't even understand what those comments mean, It's like, it's just people that are very, very, there's like a base thing to it. It's like there's something about pinball that's, ooh, hit the ball, right? And I play pinball, I like pinball, but there are some people that they stay at that base thing. So they forget about fun, they forget about that it's a game, they forget about that this video's free, you don't have to watch it, and they get all uptight about a freaking light bulb, So that's one of the reasons that I talk crap about the LEDs all the time. It's because that's that set of people. If they've got, if they're that type of person, they've definitely got LEDs in their machine, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody that has LEDs is a complete jerk. I'm just saying the percentage is higher. That's all I'm saying, folks. That's all. Okay, so here are the 3 bulbs for the top thumper bumpers. The 3 lights, so that shows you that all 3 of them should be on at the same time. And they are turned off by the game over relay. So whenever the game is over, that switch will open and it will kill those lights. That same switch is going to kill the wheel unit disc lights. And it's also going to kill the bonus value lights. Right? So obviously our problem is we've got a switch here that when the game is on should be closed, and it's not making great contact where it bounces around a little bit. And the bottom thumper bumper, there must be something wrong with the light socket. It's a little dirty, I didn't get it clean enough, something, right? So that bottom thumper bumper that keeps acting up, it's going to be an issue with the socket. But at the same time, all of those are blinking because of that switch. And we know it's that switch because the other ones aren't doing it, and those are the specific ones that are doing it. So you know it's got to be that switch because that's the common denominator. Kind of like the LEDs with the... Look, I'm not going to get back into it, okay? I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. All right, we're back. Here we are mid-game. All three of the lights are on. The wheel light is on, and if you'll notice, the bonus light is on. So let's rock and roll a little bit and see if it turns it off. Now, I think they've got all of the tilts disabled on this. I don't think I could make that delay trip out, even if I went rough on it. Now, I know some of you can't play Bally games if they don't have yellow flipper rubbers. I've been told that. And these have blue flipper rubbers. So I understand that some of you would have your nose in the air and would never be able to play this. But personally, I have no problem with it. She's playing strong, I think. She's playing strong. I was playing with my food and lost it. All right, ball 4. This shall be our last ball, I believe. I think we've got all the kinks worked out. Scores wheel value, which is double bonus, but we only had 1,000. Seems to be playing smooth. It would be better if it was going ding, 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 ding. What do you think? Maybe one more spinner shot. Oh, couldn't get it. All right, folks, so there you go. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. How cool is that? Cool game. I like the back glass freedom. I actually think it's one of their best designs, one of their better designs, I'll say, of the EMs because of the way the wheel works. That's pretty unique. And I love the games that are slightly non-symmetrical. I just think that's really cool. And a lot of them are like that because it's hard to make one perfectly symmetrical because you got the shooter lane. So everything's offset anyway. If you look at the apron, they're centered with the apron, but they're not centered with the machine. Everything's off to the left. So when you're standing at the machine, you're here, it's off center, and they're all like that. So that's another reason I don't understand why people get so pedantic and picky about every little thing. Do you not see that the whole machine is off center? People are crazy. Ooh, there's some crazy pinball people. And I never get it. Two things that I never get it from. I never get it from the arcade game guys. Never get anything crazy out of them. And I never get it from women. I have never had a woman be rude on the channel and be, the flipper rubbers are wrong. And I keep picking on the flipper rubber guy. And he's one of our regular viewers. He's probably just cringing and about to tell me off. But really, somebody needs to say it out loud, man. If you make a statement like, I can't play the game if it doesn't have yellow pinball rubbers, and I know that they're the same as the red ones, they're just a different color, but none of the Bally ones had red ones, so I can't play a game if it doesn't have yellow flipper rubbers. You're lost. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but you've lost the freaking plot probably a long time ago, and somebody should tell you, hey, buddy, you went too far. Step on back over here into the real world where we might put blue flipper rubbers on it. What the hell? Wouldn't hurt nothing, right? Somebody might put LEDs on their game, bring it to me, and have me fix it.
just to see if I'll complain about it, right? I've had that happen several times. Nothing wrong with it. That's cool. If that's what you want in your game, good for you. But there's a difference between that and leaving me comments that, you know,
Oh, they have LEDs that are much better. Really, no one should be using incandescents anymore. The Kelvin factor now is if you look at the wattage,
dude, I don't give a shit. Really? I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Okay, I have my preferences. You have your preferences. That's all cool, but you don't have to argue about it. I don't need any arguing. That's why I don't even tell y'all to leave comments anymore. We'll see you on the next one.